Well, this is the latest evidence that the government apparently has not achieved its post-9/11 resolve to have better communications and agility among intelligence agencies. Joining us now is Republican Congressman Pete Hoekstra of Michigan, also a ranking member of the House Intel Committee. Congressman, always good to see you. Does this report go far enough to address concerns about Islamic radicalism within the U.S. military?
I don't think it goes far enough at all. This really indicates, again, a failure of leadership. Early on in this administration, the administration started playing down the threat from terrorism, calling it man-made disaster. They initiated a program called the Global Justice Initiative, where we started reading Miranda rights to people that we captured on the battlefield in places like Afghanistan. And then in the immediate, you can see what the problem was before Fort Hood. If you take a look at what happened after Fort Hood, they continue to refuse to acknowledge it as a terrorist act, and they haven't, after Fort Hood, they didn't address the key problems or the key indicators.
Are you telling me
that
this administration is placing American lives in jeopardy rather than making our lives safer?
Well, if you take a look at what happened after Fort Hood, what did we see? We saw a terrorist attack on Americans. We saw contact with an American-born radical in Yemen, Awlaki. We saw this attack coming out of the Arabian Peninsula, from Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula. And the response from this administration was what? To call this a criminal act, to treat it as a criminal act, and not to treat it as a terrorist act. Then what did we see on Christmas Day? We saw a terrorist attack with all of the same symptoms. The real question here is, what did the administration do after Fort Hood? And if they had acted more aggressively on the signals that they saw on November 5 at Fort Hood, where 14 Americans were killed, would Christmas Day have been different?
Well, let me ask you about Major Nidal Hasan. He was passed along both in his medical training as well as his military career, notwithstanding conspicuous evidence of chronic incompetence. Right. Do you think that political correctness contributed to that, and indeed in the end, the loss of precious American lives?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the question that needs to be asked, because I don't think this report goes into why these people didn't act. Clearly, they say, well, they missed the signals. I don't think his superiors missed the signals at all. Clearly, the documentation is there that they noticed it, and they noticed these problems with the major. So the question is, why didn't they respond? Was it because of political correctness? Was it believed that if they went out and said, hey, this Muslim psychiatrist, this guy's really a concern to us, would they have been the ones that were branded for being Islamophobic? That they would have been the ones that would have gotten into trouble. That's exactly the question that needs to be asked, and I don't think has been asked yet.
Well, I got to ask you before we go. We're a little short of time today. Togo West Jr. is the former Secretary of the Army. He's the guy who helped principally conducted this review. He said, and this caught our attention, self-radicalization in the military is not rooted in Islam. Is he right or wrong?
Oh, man, I mean, that's a very concerning problem. I mean, if you ask the radical-born cleric, Awlaki, he would clearly say it is rooted in Islam. This is the problem that we are, there are too many people who are unwilling to engage in this discussion and point this out. If the radicalism is based out of Islam, it doesn't mean that we believe that Islam is bad. It just means that we recognize that certain people are, misinterpreting Islam and using the religion to foster radical activities. And, the bottom line is they haven't even looked at it. The briefing the report that came out on a Friday afternoon, once again, was really the first time that we've been briefed on Fort Hood. We still haven't had an in-person briefing on these types of things. But a comment like that Togo West made is exactly something that we need to take a look at and ask him exactly what he means by that. And if that is not what drove Major Hasan, exactly what did drive Major Hasan?
Good questions all. Representative Pete Hoekstra, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Back to Haiti now.